Russia is planning to cut off oil production to major parts in Europe. Is this part of Russia's attempt to stop Ukraine from joining NATO? Or is this a new plan to hike oil prices? Welcome to our channel. In this video, we'll be talking about how Elon Musk is sensitizing people to Russia's threat of cutting off oil production to other parts of Europe. Let us go into more details, shall we? Elon, being the global scale thinker that he is, knows how vulnerable Europe is when it comes to energy reliance on Russia. Knowing this, Elon tweeted, "Hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas immediately. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures." Amazing how the leader in electric vehicles was advocating the increase of fossil fuels. But why did he advocate for increasing fossil fuels when he knows it would directly impact his business? Let's look at the reasons why. The war between Ukraine and Russia is going to have a ripple effect on so many things, and oil production is one of those areas that will be greatly affected. But before we get into the details, you can click on the subscribe button so you can enjoy more videos like this. Be sure to click on the notification icon so you can get updates when we upload a video. It's no longer news that Russia is one of the major oil producing nations in Europe, and the country has been serving countries like Poland, Ukraine, the US, and other parts of the world. Many more countries are becoming heavily dependent on Russia's oil. In fact, Russia controls 38% of the oil that is currently produced in Europe. Now, when you look at it, that's a lot of power for one country, don't you think? Let us know in the comment section. Vladimir Putin, with his numerous tactics, has been taunting the idea that Russia may cease to produce oil to countries in Europe as a result of the war with Ukraine. Now, if this happens, there will be so many civil wars in Europe. Businesses will close. It could be so bad that countries could go into a serious economic meltdown, resulting in civilization dwindling by the minute. Every home in the countries that depend on Russia's oil will feel the wrath. With utility bills already on the rise, imagine what will happen if Russia cuts off their oil. Germany and Italy are some of the countries that rely so much on Russia's oil. So if Russia decides to cut off oil production, it will throw billions of dollars in investment straight into the air. Scratch that. Literally billions of dollars will be lost completely. Gas contracts will also be sent to oblivion, with Russia cutting off every country in Europe that depends on its oil. Aside from the investments, the pipeline that Russia uses to pass gas to Europe will be blocked. President Joe Biden is one of the major progenitors of closing the pipeline, especially the Nord Stream 2, which is still yet to pass oil. The president spoke about closing the Nord Stream 2 if Russia invades Ukraine. And with the invasion no longer in question, countries now have to find an alternative source for getting oil. Right now, the most viable option is liquefied gas. At least this provides a stable method of transportation, especially for long distances. Many analysts will say Putin had already planned the invasion for a while, and some evidence can be seen in the way Russia is gradually reducing its oil production to Europe. We've seen in recent months that Russia has reduced the pipeline transportation of oil by 23%, so we probably had this coming for a while. Some countries have already started liquefying as a way to prepare themselves for the inevitable. Now, with the crisis in full fruition, the gap markets have been suffering even before the invasion. Gas prices in Europe have spiked since Russia has gradually been reducing its oil production to Europe. There were even questions of the gas being able to last the whole of winter. So where does Elon Musk fit in all of this? Musk has been heavily involved in the rift between Ukraine and Russia, with the billionaire providing better internet access through Starlink provision in the Ukraine. Plus, Musk has been talking a lot about how Ukraine can use the Starlink antenna to disseminate information faster and easier to many people that have been displaced. Many of his tweets have been geared towards supporting the efforts of the Ukrainian Prime Minister, Mikhailo Fedorov. Aside from keeping to his promise by providing the Starlink equipment to Ukraine, Musk has been trying to sensitize people on Twitter. With over 77 million followers, Musk is trying to let people understand the impending doom that may await Europe and other parts of the world if Russia decides to cut off oil production. According to him, sustainable energy cannot right away make up for Russia's oil exports, but the best way to get ahead of the situation is to start now. It is necessary to increase oil and gas production to be able to stay afloat even if Russia cuts off its oil production. Now, your question is, what will happen to Tesla? Musk talked about his automotive company also in a tweet. According to him, he understands that with an increase in oil and gas production all over the world, Tesla will most likely suffer. but for the sake of humanity to keep on evolving, oil and gas need to be produced at their optimum without relying on Russia. Musk must have gained more followers with his response to a Greta Thunberg comment. For Musk, one strategy is to let people understand that this is beyond Tesla, SpaceX, or his money. The goal for producing more oil and gas is for civilization to have continuity. Russia cutting off oil will have serious repercussions if we're not prepared. From the homes in small states to big businesses in major cities, things will begin to crumble if oil and gas production is not increased in other parts of the world. Increased oil and gas production in the short term is critical, or people around the world will be placed under great duress. This is not a question of money. It's a question of having enough energy to power civilization. Europe now needs to face the reality. Russia may cut off oil production soon, but they don't have to wait and watch their economy crumble. Musk is urging Europe to revisit their dormant nuclear power stations to start energy production. Plus, the ones that are already existing need to be optimized to function even better. Imagine how helpless a country that depends on Russia's oil will be if Putin stops oil production in Europe. There could be security issues with the country being vulnerable since oil is a major part of that country's survival. So Musk is right by saying focusing on nuclear power plants is a matter of international and national security. Hopefully, it is now extremely obvious that Europe should restart dormant nuclear power stations and increase power output of existing ones. This is critical to national and international security. For those who mistakenly think this is a radiation risk, pick what you think is the worst location. I'll travel there and eat locally grown food on TV. I did this in Japan many years ago, shortly after Fukushima. Radiation risk is much lower than most people believe. Aside from Musk talking about the need for nuclear power plants and Europe's stability and solidarity against Russia, the question about radiation risks has risen after that tweet. In his thread, Musk was confident about the safety of Europe revisiting nuclear power plants. This is because many areas close to nuclear power plants have been known to be susceptible to radiation. However, to let people know that there's nothing to fear, Musk has offered to eat at even the worst location. According to him, many people have believed the worst about radiation is that the actual risks are much lower. Musk is systematic in explaining what Europe needs and calmly shows you why nuclear power is great. Musk talks about nuclear power being an apt solution, especially for global warming. Also, nuclear is vastly better for global warming than burning hydrocarbons for energy. Musk is clearly advocating that Europe needs to wake up and look at the nuclear power plants that they have. So if Europe can maximize this option alongside liquefying gas, then Russia cutting off their oil production will not affect them too much. But it is certain that if Russia does cut off oil production, some countries might not be able to survive. This is why Musk is advocating that the time to act is now. In a couple of days and weeks, we'll see how everything unfolds, but be sure that you can catch the latest on the war between Russia and Ukraine, plus the role of Elon Musk in the midst of this world event. And what do you think about the strategy that Musk is offering Europe? Let us know in the comments. Europe is very reliant on Russia for its oil, and being cut off would be severely destabilizing for the European economy. Elon gave the world leaders a strong forewarning that just might end up protecting Europe in the event Russia does decide to stop oil exports. Don't you just love Elon? And if you enjoyed this video, we have another one like it where we cover how Elon deployed his Starlink technology to save Ukraine from further isolation from the world. See you there.